This life is not an easy one, particularly for a believer. We see the world for what it really is, and many of us are modern day versions of Noah preparing for the ark the Most High is making for us, while trying to warn others about the flood that's coming. Only this time it won't be water, but fire. We warn, but people don't listen. Many write you off as crazy and they disrespect you. It is definitely hard to be a believer during these last days. But even with how hard it is for us now, we know that the reason we're warning others today to get right with Yah and to submit to Him is because the times that are coming are going to be even worse for those who are not right with Yahuah and do not believe in Yahusha. I know that many people I see in this world are not going to be ready. It's very hard to watch. The people are completely mad and rebellious. And with that said, you would actually think that the most rebellious people, the ones that actually truly reject Yahusha, will be the hardest people to talk to. Well, obviously, some of them are. But there is another group that is even harder to reach and deal with. And for some of us, it is the hardest thing to understand at first. I've tried many times to communicate the danger of labels, because people can attach a label to something, and because that label is on it, it is now deemed to be safe. It's like the FDA approved stamp. People literally deem what's good for them to take in their body and what's not good for them because of this FDA approval stamp. It's just a label that tells people it has passed this group's standards. But the thing is, what if the standards are not in line with your own? It's just a label. And yes, even though it does have a general consensus of acceptance by the majority, that still does not make it safe or okay for all just because they said so. But that's just one example. The biggest example that we have today really is the label of Christian. This label is thrown around everywhere, and when people use it, it often gives the majority of the world who say they believe in Messiah, it gives them a general feeling that they can trust what is coming from this Christian source. But as we have been going over all these topics surrounding the end times, from discussing the pre-tribulation rapture to the day of Yahuah, we can see that there is a great divide between the truth and what mainstream Christianity is. The amount of doctrines that mainstream Christianity subscribes to that is contrary to the scriptures is ridiculous and astounding. From the celebration of pagan holidays to living in lawlessness, attaching themselves to the ways of this world. And now, as we have clearly exposed the lie of the pre-tribulation rapture doctrine, from the history to the false doctrine ignoring the first resurrection, to seeing that those that want to be plucked out don't recognize that they're desiring to be counted amongst the wicked. And with all of that exposed, we can clearly see that there is a real dangerous difference in following the doctrines of mainstream Christianity. And you know what? It is not easy calling out this truth because people look at this as being judgmental, or they're saying that you're speaking about what's really in their heart and whatnot. So when you make this distinction, it oftentimes can be quite controversial. Then you also have to deal with others that need to find a label for you, so they like to say, oh, don't listen to him, he's a Hebrew Israelite, or a Judaizer, or a Pharisee. Many different type of labels that they try to use so they can just reject what you're really trying to say. But I will tell you, I don't care about that controversy more than I care about there being voices that will say what needs to be actually said. And so this post right here might rub a few people the wrong way because you have been so attached to the labels and religion, and you more than likely don't like the idea of standing alone and being set apart, being different. I don't want to offend, but I do have something that needs to be said at this current point in time of history that we're in. If you want to be ready for Yah's kingdom, you need to come out of mainstream Christianity, aka churchianity, and be set apart and be holy. The Most High is not in the majority of these major Christian organizations. The longer you attach to them, the more you attach yourselves to the tares that Yahusha our Messiah has prophesied he will pluck out, gather, and toss into the fire. Our faith is not a religion summed up by a label. It is a way of life summed up by faith and obedience. And so, as we approach the times of change, you need to seek Yah's face personally outside of religious organizations and labels, and be called out and set apart to Him through seeking Him personally, through His Word, and through the indwelling of His Holy Spirit leading you. Mainstream Christianity is a major dangerous belief because the majority feel like they're safe in their faith because they don't actually know our Creator, but they know the many false doctrines in their religion that they're following. And the sad part is that the majority of them who are trying to enter into His kingdom through the broad gate, they're going to be rejected. They're going to be plucked out, and they're going to be tossed into the fire. And I do not want that for anyone. So here's the thing. I just made a video about the apostate church. So if you don't understand those other topics like pagan holidays or being lawless or being a part of the world, then make sure you watch that video. But at this point in time, let me take this time to explain a major sign that needs to be clear to everyone. Let me say this. The majority of the Christian church does not recognize, nor do they expect, that everything that they see and hear out of the mainstream is a lie. And the fact that they don't recognize this shows exactly where they are in Yah's prophesied plans. Mainstream Christianity lives in the strong delusion. And besides the other factors that we spoke about, at the time that we're in right now, you can use this point I'm about to discuss to identify those who are Yah's and those who are not. If you don't recognize that we are being lied to all the time, you are in the strong delusion, and it's time for you to wake up before it's too late for you. I'm going to explain why. Let's begin. Okay, so I know what I just said in the intro can be a little hard to hear, and I know people don't like hearing people speak in such absolutes. I get it. But let's be clear, there is no more time for sugarcoating, and so you will not get that here. Let's go over what I'm talking about before you jump to conclusions. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, it says, "So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." So what did John tell us? He said that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, deceives the whole world. So let's just make sure that we place this as a foundational understanding, because this point is not a foundation of mainstream Christianity. The world we are in is being lied to and deceived by Satan. So look at it this way. Let's say you know a person, or you know that he is a known liar. Every time you talk with him, he's lying about something. Let me ask you, is it smart for you to believe the things that he tells you? If you say yes, or you have conditions, that makes you very naive and very easily taken advantage of. For me, rule number one in these kind of situations is that I don't believe a thing out of a liar's mouth, even if they occasionally tell the truth. I ignore these people. Rule number two is I don't get down and associate with liars in the first place. So if I know they're lying to me, you probably won't see me associating with it. What I'm saying is that you don't ever listen to what liars are telling you. That's all I'm saying. So let's take it a step further. We know Satan deceives the whole world. That's what the scripture said. We got that. Let's add more verses to it. In John chapter 8, Yahusha said, "If Elohim were your father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from Elohim, nor have I come of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Because you are not able to listen to my word. You are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of it." That's John chapter 8, verses 42 through 44. So clearly, the devil does not stand in truth, and when he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources because he is the father of lies. Okay, we got that. Let's add more. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 3 and 4, Paul says, "But even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing, whose minds the God of this world has blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Messiah, who is the image of Elohim, should shine on them." It says, those who are perishing do so because their minds are blinded by the God of this world. Satan is the God of this world, blinding the minds of those who are perishing. Clear. Let's add some more. "For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of Messiah. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 13 through 15. You see, Satan transforms himself into an angel of light, and his ministers transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, even though they are false apostles and deceitful workers. His ministers transform themselves into apostles of Messiah. So that means that in this world, Satan has ministers who preach and teach about Messiah, but they are actually ministers of Satan. So that does not only mean that we need to look out for the obvious devil worshippers who are going against Yahusha, but also there is an infiltration by Satan to bring about ministers who have transformed themselves into apostles of Messiah, but actually ministers of Satan. Hope you got that. Here's the last one. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. That's 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. So our adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. So if you're not vigilant and sound-minded, he very likely can devour you. So these are foundational understandings any believer that is living for Yah's kingdom must have, because we do not live in this world without an enemy. Let's review this list one more time. Satan deceives the whole world. He does not stand in truth, and when he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources because he is the father of lies. Satan is the god of this world, blinding the minds of those who are perishing. He transforms himself into an angel of light, and he has ministers who preach and teach about Messiah, but they are actually ministers for his deceptions. And the devil is our adversary. He walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. So if you're not vigilant and sound-minded, he can very likely devour you. This is it. This is it right here. This is a foundational understanding every believer should be aware of while living in this world. I mean, think about it. How can you protect yourself from an enemy that you know nothing about? So that brings me back to the example of knowing a liar. Like I said, I don't listen to anything a liar says out of his mouth. So if that is the case, and Satan is the god of this world using his resources to spread his lies, does it make sense for me or any other believer to listen to what the world has to say about things? Satan is the god of this world. He deceives the whole world. So if he deceives the whole world, his lies cannot be secret, and something that most people in this world have been affected by. He cannot deceive the whole world in secret. He deceives the whole world through the mainstream. And so if something that you understand or know is mainstream, I guarantee you that that whole thing is probably a lie, or there is a major lie mixed in that leads people away from Yah and directly to Satan. Now get this. The reason why this is not a foundational understanding in mainstream Christianity is because it's mainstream Christianity. You need to understand that those in the mainstream doctrines of Christianity are only known by the world because they're being taught by Satan's ministers who transform themselves into ministers of Messiah. When you are following mainstream Christianity, your doctrines come from Satan. And this is why the majority does not have a clear understanding of their enemy. Because why would Satan be teaching the world about himself and how people can defend themselves against him? Clear answer, he wouldn't. And guess what? He doesn't. Satan, who deceives the whole world, has created a world that is surrounded by lies. And you can know the difference between believers based on who is actually in those lies and who is not. Now let me say this. Not everyone comes out of the lies the same way at the same time. So it's not like, oh, you believe in the globe, you obviously are not with Yah. Don't ever look at it this way, ever. That is far from true. Everyone has different levels of growth that they have to go through. What I am actually saying is that the difference between those who know this world is built on lies and they steadily come out of them and grow, and those who don't even recognize that they're being lied to at all, there's a big difference between those two. So I'm going to give the foundation for this, and then I will try to bring more clarity on what I'm saying. I speak on this in multiple videos. It is the strong delusion. The scripture says, "The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth that they might be saved. And for this reason, Elohim will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who do not believe the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness." That's found in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 9 through 12. You see, there is a lawless one coming. We call him the Antichrist in our modern day. Everything in this world today is all about leading up to him. I mean, everything. The lack of leadership in the world, the great divide within politics all over the world, the lack of young leaders, and the abundance of old men and old ideas. COVID, the solution, the United Nations assemblies, global citizen festivals, wars, economic collapses, climate change, cryptocurrencies, Beyonce's concert even, etc., etc. All these things happening in the world, too many to list and mention. All of these things are put in place in order to bring about the coming of the lawless one. It is a massive world system built on lies and false foundations that were created in order to drive the world that is stuck in the strong delusion, bringing them into condemnation. All of these things lead to the lawless one, as the scripture says, and they're all according to the working of Satan, with all his power, signs, and lying wonders attached to it. Please remember all the things we spoke about understanding Satan earlier. Remember, he deceives the whole world. Why is he deceiving the whole world? In order to lead us to the coming of the lawless one, his false Messiah. And those who follow the strong delusion are those who are perishing because they did not receive the love of the truth that they might be saved. Those that follow and believe in the lie will be condemned because they did not love the truth and Yah's righteousness. So sadly, there are many that we all know that will perish and be condemned. And there are many different characteristics of them. But one thing that should be known and seen is that they are not conspiracy theorists. But you're like, wait, what? Yeah, those who will be condemned are not known as conspiracy theorists by others because they believe all the lies. They reject the truth. Think about it. Satan deceives the whole world. He does not stand in truth. And when he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources because he is the father of lies. Satan is the god of this world, blinding the minds of those who are perishing. He transforms himself into an angel of light, and he has ministers who preach and teach about Messiah, but they are actually ministers for his deceptions. He is our adversary, and he walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. So if you're not vigilant and sound-minded, he very likely can devour you. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all of Satan's lying wonders, powers, and signs. He has built a world on a foundation of lies. Everything is a lie in order for people to follow his doctrine and his ways and receive the lawless one that is coming. So if you're not questioning everything and you're believing everything that you're hearing, you cannot be a part of Yah and his kingdom. Everything in the mainstream is a lie in order to steer us to the lawless one. So if you hear what the mainstream is selling and telling you, and you just outright accept it and go along, you are a part of the group that is a part of the strong delusion. And I know that may be hard to hear, but if we are in the last days preparing for the beast and his persecution, do you think that the devil is just going to start lying to us now? The lies are going to start coming right now? No, he deceives the whole world. And a majority of what the mainstream knows today is a lie that has been told over centuries in order to lead us to the beast. Everything is a lie. And if you don't recognize that, it's because you are held by the strong delusion because you do not love Yah's truth. Now, this is not to say that every conspiracy theorist is a believer in Yah's kingdom. Please do not get me wrong and don't try to twist that. Absolutely not. And that also does not mean that every conspiracy theory is true. Absolutely not. But let me tell you that if you live in a world and you don't even recognize that people are lying to you, then you're not going to be a part of Yah's kingdom because the mainstream agenda in this world is all about steering people to the lawless one. So let's examine this in reality. Look at mainstream Christianity. Now listen, let me just say this. When I speak of mainstream Christianity, I am not speaking of all churches. Absolutely not. I am not against the church, the assembly. I am against mainstream Christianity and everything tied to it. There are plenty of pastors and assemblies that are not a part of mainstream Christianity in all that I'm saying. And you can know this because they are not following the lies. But an organization like this, and those who follow him, this is clearly what I'm talking about.
We are not apologizing for being the most conservative and the most cautious during this period.
Piney Grove Baptist Church in DeKalb County says it's requiring worshipers to sign a waiver, get their temperature checked, and show proof of vaccination before attending in-person services.
We said we were going to follow the science, not our emotions. Everybody wanted to come to church, but we were going to follow the science, and we did just that.
The church has about 3,000 active members, 5,000 total, and staff say they began requiring proof of vaccination several weeks ago.
Now, I use him knowing that this man more than likely is one of Satan's ministers who transformed himself into an apostle for Messiah. I know this because he proudly shows he is an alpha, and more than likely he's a Mason. But being an alpha, we know that he's taken oaths, and he's proud of them. But I'm not talking about him specifically. I'm talking about all the people who go to his church and that follow him, and those that go to other churches like his that follow ministers like him. And this right here, this is in the abundance. This is the mainstream. Pretty much all mainstream Christianity is like this. Mainstream Christianity is what I'm talking about. Churches like this is what is mainstream.
Attention, all Christian
The Bible
conspiracy
says this,
theorists.
truthful words stand the test of time, but lies are what? Soon exposed. Listen to me, all you conspiracy theorists. People are not that smart. Oh my gosh, the government is lying to us. Really? The same people who can't make roads? Listen to me. Get out of your room and off the internet. People are not that great at covering up lies. We're not even that good at telling the truth. You give people and government way too much credit. The truth comes out.
Now understand that this is exactly why Satan and his influence are running wild in this world, because the mainstream church doesn't even know that they need to be on guard to something. The man said humans aren't that gullible and that people can't keep secrets. Yet this is exactly what the world is built on, and is exactly what we are warned of. So guess what? These people are liars, and they are ministers of darkness, and the majority of the Christian church are influenced by them. All of these Christians that sit in church and go hear sermons that teach them to trust this world and how to obtain this world. They hear things about Jesus that makes them clap, but then also hear about being delivered from their haters and receiving blessings to get them out of their bad job or lack of finances or finding a partner. Whatever these people are talking about today, that is mainstream Christianity. Do you think that the majority of these people know that they are being lied to about everything? Not even close. The strong delusion is real, and we all don't wake up out of it the same way at the same time. But the thing is that we know something is wrong, and we continue to seek out the Most High so that He can expose it to us and bring us more aligned into His world and His truth. But the majority don't even recognize that they're being lied to. So what do? They follow. They follow Satan. They follow exactly what they're told, and they believe him. That's exactly how the Christian church could allow themselves to get shut down from worshiping Yah and believe that they needed to be masked up and injected. They didn't even consider the possibility that they were being lied to and that the things that are happening were a part of the strong delusion. No, they just follow the thoughts that Satan is directing the mainstream to believe in, provoking them through fear. When in actuality, they should be a true believer who actually stands in the power Messiah gives us, and they should walk in that power that Messiah gives us, and use the authority that Yahusha said we have. And so the majority of the mainstream Christian church is under the strong delusion, and they are being prepared to accept the Antichrist, or sadly, die in their rejection of the truth. Satan doesn't care either way. His goal is to bring people to the same fate that he is going to receive, and so he's trying to direct the masses to follow his agenda, which then walks people directly into the strong delusion. Let's be clear about it. Everything that you are born into believing is probably a lie. You can always tell by looking at the things you're allowed to say and the things you're not allowed to say and things you're not allowed to believe in. Everything is a lie. So I'm going to call some things out. And the more of these things you do not recognize, the more you are in the strong delusion. Here's some things you should know that will help you out the strong delusion. First, like I said earlier, this world is completely run by Satan. Completely. The people in the mainstream, from your elected officials, celebrities, business leaders, and everyone else in between that are mainstream, are all sellouts who have sold their soul for the fame and fortune that they have received. You think that whole thing with Lecrae and all that is about a difference of doctrine? No. Lecrae, he sold out. He's been sold out. We all knew it. Okay. Most people are cheering on and being influenced by the scum of modern day history. Period. Money is not real. The value of it is created by those with power. People have been tricked into devoting their life to something that does not matter and will change whenever those with power want it to. I'm talking about money. Democracy is not real. It is an illusion created by people with power to control the people without it. There are no real political parties. They have just created sides to give the illusion of choice. Presidents and politicians are not elected, they are selected. Elections are only used to understand if the public is believing the lies. The world is controlled by a small handful of people. All wars and economic collapses are planned and orchestrated long before they happen in order to create order out of chaos. These wars and economic collapses are just events that are leading the world to the worship of the beast. The most influential religion in this world is Freemasonry. It's not just a secret society. The world is divided and controlled through a pyramid hierarchy. Satan is at the top, the masses controlled by the mainstream are at the bottom. The sellouts are all in between. The real war being waged against us all is spiritual and mental. The news is nothing but psychological misinformation to steer the general public. Our entertainment from music, television, and movies are major tools of mind control used to control the masses. Also, our entertainment from music, television, and movies are just sermons from Satan. Education is not about empowering minds. It's about indoctrinating them. Unfortunately, those charged with the job of educating, the teachers, the principals, they are mostly unaware of it for the most part. Medicine is not about healing people, but controlling people. The religions of the world are not real. They all lead back to Satan. Satan has played a bigger role in Christianity than the majority are aware of. The Bible is not an American or European book. It was only hijacked by Europeans and Americans. The God of the Bible has a name, and it was written over 6,000 times in the Old Testament. His name is Yahuah, written in the tetragrammaton form like this, or with the actual Hebrew characters. The reason his name is not in our mainstream Bibles is because they have followed the ineffable name doctrine that says his name is too holy to utter. You should not follow that doctrine. The Messiah's true name was never Jesus. The people the mainstream world believe are Jews are not actually the people the Bible is speaking of. The restoration of Israel, Bible prophecy, was not fulfilled when the nation of Israel was created in 1948. It has not happened yet. The world is not truly divided by skin color or race. The world is divided by tribes, nation, and tongue. All people are descendants of tribes on earth that come from Ham, Japheth, and Shem. Satan created race to disguise the hatred he has for Yah's chosen people. He used skin color to disguise his agendas of hatred and oppression. Skin color and nationalities are the worst way to identify people because when different tribes mix with others, it produces different skin complexions. For instance, when Japheth mixes with Ham, it creates a tannish complexion with blended features. There's no way of knowing who they actually are by the color of their skin. The skin color you see in the Middle East is not what it was in ancient history. It is based from the mixing of Japheth, Greeks and Romans, with Hamites, Egyptians and Ethiopians, when Greece and Rome conquered the known world. The transatlantic slave trade was not done at random. They did not pick people with black skin at random. The slavers knew exactly who it was that they were taking. The Negroes are actually Hebrews of Israel They were taken from the land the European slavers labeled Negro land, which was once the Songhai Empire, which descends from the Zhou dynasty, which was a Hebrew empire. The enslavement, oppression, prejudice, and overall abuse of the Negro was not about their skin color, but about their spiritual identity and the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28 that were placed on them because of the disobedience and rebellion of their ancestors. White supremacy is a satanic doctrine that most people are unaware that they are influenced by. Black, white, any other culture. The period of the Renaissance is the time when the world began to come together to formulate their massive lie. All lies and falsehoods began to be covered up during this period in history. The world is not a globe, it is flat, and the earth and heaven is divided by waters and the firmament, as Genesis chapter 1 tells us. The truth about the shape of the earth and the firmament is not told so that people do not truly recognize the power of the Most High and they are able to follow the lies Satan is creating to promote the beast. Aliens are not real. They are actually demons. The pre-tribulation rapture is a doctrine Satan created to trick the mainstream church in believing they need to be the ones plucked off the earth instead of inheriting it. He changed your promises. There's a lot more, so I'm sure that people might have more to write in the comments. If I did not say something you think I should have said, please don't try to hold it against me. This list was not meant to be comprehensive. It is just giving the example of how lost this world truly is. We are bombarded by lies that the majority do not know. Do you think that the mainstream church thinks about even a quarter of these things? This is the reality of the world that you live in. And maybe you don't understand or agree yet with all I have said and listed, and that's fine. Please understand, it's fine that you're not there yet. I understand. When I was first waking up, there were many things I didn't agree with or refused to believe at first. There is no judgment on your level of awareness. But listen, if you call yourself a believer and you live in a world where all of this is just some conspiracy theory, you are in fact a part of the strong delusion heading for condemnation. It's not that you need to know these things to be saved, but if you're not aware that there's so many lies in front of you, it's because you're part of a strong delusion that Yah prophesied that you'll be a part of. You don't want to be a part of that strong delusion. The mainstream church is lying to the masses. It is overrun by false apostles and false ministers of unrighteousness that desire to spread false religion that keeps people deceived and not attached to Yah's kingdom. This world is no joke. The mainstream is built around lies that have been put in place to steer the majority of the world to accept the Antichrist and make people declare that they are tied more to Satan than to Yahuah. And the thing is that this is entirely our choice, because the truth of the matter is that many of us are lazy with our faith, and we have not diligently sought after our Father in heaven more than we sought after riches of this world or to be accepted by man in their ways. Mainstream Christianity is not in church analyzing all these lies told by Satan and making sure that their congregations are not falling for them. They're too busy justifying them, getting you to care about social issues and the social gospel, teaching civil rights and talking politics, bringing elected officials to their congregations, talking about social justice issues and talking about your blessings and all that other prosperity nonsense. A whole bunch of nonsense that has nothing to do with the kingdom that we're trying to possess, Yah's kingdom. When you talk to these people, they're too busy justifying why they're attached to these lies and why these lies don't even matter. They are all a part of the strong delusion, whether they want to recognize it or not. Remember, it is prophesied. This is not just me speaking what's on my mind. It's prophesied that for this reason, Elohim will send them strong delusion that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who do not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. That's 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. So let me say this again. Remember that Satan deceives the whole world. He does not stand in truth. And when he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources because he is the father of lies. Satan is the god of this world, blinding the minds of those who are perishing. He transforms himself into an angel of light, and he has ministers who preach and teach about Messiah, but they are actually ministers for his deceptions. He is our adversary, and he walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. So if you're not vigilant and sound-minded, he very likely can devour you. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all of Satan's lying wonders, powers, and signs. He has built a world based on lies. Everything is a lie in order for people to follow Satan and receive the lawless one that is coming. And it's really important that you really understand that. Your only way out of this is living in the truth. Yahusha said to those Jews who believed in him, "If you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." That's John chapter 8, verses 31 through 32. It is the truth that shall make you free. A part of our spiritual armor is the belt of truth. Yahusha prayed to our Father, "Sanctify them by your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also have sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they also may be sanctified by the truth." That's John chapter 17, verses 17 through 19. Remember, love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 6. So if before you watch this, you were a hypocrite who claims to be a follower of Yahusha, our Messiah, but you lived in lies because it was easier to deal with them, or you don't understand our Father or our enemy, you must know that if you continue with that, it will be completely on you. Yes, your churches have not taught you about our enemy and about the strong delusion. But all of this is right in his word. I didn't make this up, or this is not researching from other books. This is all in the word. If you search out our Father yourself and do not put your faith in the hands of others, you would give his spirit room to work in you and move. So it's time to come out of the lies. It's time to come out of mainstream Christianity. It's time to come out of religion, period, and focus on relationship that is built on faith and obedience. I want you to remember, Yahuah is near to all who call upon him. To all who call upon him in truth, he will fulfill the desire of those who fear him. He also will hear their cry and save them. Yahuah preserves all who love him, but all the wicked he will destroy. My mouth shall speak the praise of Yahuah, and all flesh shall bless his holy name forever and ever. That's Psalm chapter 145, verses 18 through 21. Call upon him in truth and reject the lies. The more you start yearning and hungering for his truth, the more he will remove the scales off your eyes and you will begin to see the strong delusion that you have lived in since you were born. This is real, and it's heading to an agenda that we are seeing come together right now. You have been told and you have been warned, and whatever you decide to do is all on you. For you who's watching, though, that desires to live for the Most High, you must live in truth. So reject the lies and come to our Father in spirit and in truth, and serve him the way he desires and has declared according to his word. You don't have much more time to get this right. So please, burn your idols and begin to love the truth before your time is up. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please make sure to like it and share it with others. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Please make sure to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. If for any reason you do not see this channel on this platform any longer, please look for me on my website. I again want to thank everyone who is sowing into this ministry. I feel very humbled by this assignment Yahuah has given me. Your support truly blesses me. I thank you for assisting me with carrying out and serving him. Thank you. I'm truly grateful for you. You know who you are. Thank you again for your support and allowing Yahuah to work through you. May Yah bless you. Okay. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. I love you all.